Does Joe Biden have dementia? Some people believe he does, based on many video clips we have seen in social media ever since he started his presidency. Some videos feature him being very slow at answering questions. In other videos, he misinterprets the questions or gives factually incorrect answers. However, could these mistakes be related to other changes to the brain? For example, naturally occurring age-related changes to the brain, which to some extent will happen to all of us as we grow older. Could this happen to you? And if you developed some memory problems recently, how would you know whether it is dementia or age-related changes to the brain, which happen naturally? Hello, my name is Dr. Elena Mucci. I'm a fellow of Royal College of Physicians of London and member of American College of Physicians. I'm a geriatrician and I treat dementia patients on a daily basis. I'm not here to diagnose dementia or any other condition. I'm here to discuss with you the difference between dementia and naturally occurring age-related changes to the brain we experience. At the end of this video, I will tell you my opinion whether Mr. Biden has dementia or not. I will also tell you how you can minimize your risk of developing dementia and how you can improve your memory as you grow older. Let's get started. Cognitive decline is a natural part of aging. It is wrong to assume that your memory will be as sharp as it was when you were 30 or 40 years old. But of course, the extent of that decline will vary across different individuals and will depend on the individual's brain reserves. The brain reserves which we built at earlier life, and it will be based on our intellectual and educational experiences throughout our earlier years. Let's not forget, Mr. Biden is an 80-year-old man. Undoubtedly, he is a highly educated man, but neither he or anyone else will avoid the biology of aging brain. So what can we expect from our brain as we grow older? Mr. Biden often takes his time when he's answering questions, and quite often on camera it can look very awkward. In fact, he is often ridiculed for this by the media. But did you know that the ability to solve complex problems declines with age, as well as the speed our brains process the information? For example, when confronted with a really complex question in a news conference with hundreds of cameras facing him, Mr. Biden under enormous stress and pressure to produce an immediate answer. This is likely to result in mistakes in any individual, left alone an 80-year-old man. Now imagine that Mr. Biden is your ordinary Joe, an 80-year-old man you met in the park. You are sitting on a bench and having a conversation. You ask Joe a complex question, and I don't think you will be particularly surprised when you realize that Joe is taking his time to answer your question. He might even give you a wrong answer, and immediately, maybe a few seconds later, he might correct himself and give you the right answer eventually. Of course, there will be variations in cognitive abilities of our older adults, but generally we are accustomed to speak slower, listen more carefully to them, and generally accept that they will be making occasional mistakes while we're having conversations. However, with Mr. Biden, those occasional mistakes from different speeches spaced out in time, cut out by the media, put together into one clip and presented to you, giving you an impression that he's making those mistakes all the time. What cameras are not capturing are many hours of work he is doing well enough to be in this presidency for the last 2 years. Or is he? I'm coming to this at the end of the video and answer this question as well. In my personal opinion, and without examination, I do not believe Mr. Biden has dementia. To diagnose dementia, the cognitive impairment should be severe enough to have an impact on activities of daily living. For example, managing finance, shopping, self-care. As far as I know, and from the very limited evidence available to me, Mr. Biden appears to be physically functioning quite well, although his mobility hasn't been that perfect. But that could be due to age-related arthritic changes. However, there is another condition out there which is an overlap between age-related changes to the brain and dementia. It is called mild cognitive impairment. Let's discuss this one. Mild cognitive impairment, also called pre-dementia. There are problems with memory, problems with processing, executive functioning of the brain. There could be even problems with speech. However, these problems are not bad enough to impact on activities of daily living at the moment, but they will progressively get worse. much faster than the progression you see with age-related changes to the brain. In many patients, only time will tell you what you are dealing with, whether it's a pre-dementia or mild cognitive impairment, or the patient is just experiencing age-related natural changes to the brain. MCI patients are fully functioning. They are driving, even working, but they will develop dementia in the next few years. Majority of MCI patients do develop dementia in the 5 years from the time of diagnosis. Whilst I do not believe Mr. Biden has dementia, it is my opinion that he should not run for presidency again, because the changes we have been observing in Mr. Biden over the last 2 years could be related to MCI condition rather than age-related natural changes. Let me tell you a simple tip which will help you to distinguish between these two conditions. With memory changes we see with naturally aging brain, the person usually has full insight into their problem. They know that they have memory problems. They come into my clinic and they complain, "Doctor, I used to be so sharp. I remembered all the names, all the addresses. Now I am so forgetful. I cannot even remember the name of the current British Prime Minister." To be fair to them, neither can I. They will give me the exact details of the recent incident when they lost their car in a local supermarket. I know instantly that I'm dealing with age-related changes to the brain when the patient himself, more concerned than the family. I usually recommend them to buy a yellow car, which is very difficult to lose at supermarkets. On the other hand, with dementia, the family is more concerned than the patient. Patient usually has very poor or no insight into their problem. As far as they are concerned, there is no problems with their memory. They come into my clinic and bitterly complain about the family who nagged and nagged and nagged them to come into the clinic to have this checkup. I do have some good news for you though. Even though age-related brain decline is inevitable, our brain can be retrained. So my advice to you, dear listeners, is to engage your brain both mentally and physically as much as you can. You'd say, well, we're fine. We're doing crosswords, we're doing Scrabble, we're playing a lot of Sudoku. Not good enough. I'm talking about really challenging mental activities here. For example, learning to play a new instrument, learning a new language, or mastering a new skill. Whatever you are doing, it has to be brand new and quite challenging. When it comes to physical activities, yoga has shown to be quite good for patients with memory problems, but any other physical activity will do. Let's bring this to the conclusion. Faced with inevitable decline in brain functioning as we age, and appreciating the major fluctuations we have in our brain functioning depending on what other illnesses we develop throughout our life, should there be an age limit to run for presidency? When you are doing such a demanding and stressful job, and there are enormous expectations of you not just in your country but around the world, is it right to give the office to a person who cannot function 100% at all times? On the other hand, you might argue that an older politician has the vast experience which he can use in running the country, and it will be a great shame to let him go and take all that enormous tacit knowledge away with him. What do you think, dear listener? In my opinion, based on the knowledge of inevitable aging of the brain and all the vulnerabilities which come with it, there should be an age limit to run for presidency, with all the politicians acting as advisors. Thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned on my channel because we will continue this conversation about dementia, and my next video is going to be on fake dementia. Intrigued? You soon will find out what that is all about.